I feel alive.
Welcome to the ADVMoto podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Slayball, and each episode we pick a theme and we talk with writers about that theme. And so the theme for this episode, episode 8, is Firestarters. So it's not the Prodigy song, it's people who are in the adventure space, adventure motorcycle space, that are lighting fires under people's sense of adventure. I think all of us have this, from bygone eras, from millennia ago, have this deep-seated need for adventure. I think it's in our DNA as a human species. And so I wanted to find two people that kind of light those fires in different ways. So in this episode, you get to meet Tom Morgan and Amanda Zito. So Tom is with the Adventurists, and Tom has created this kind of, I don't know, call it genre or perfect storm of these rally races where it kind of throws people into chaos, which kind of fosters an adventure. And so everything from riding monkey bikes through Morocco to riding horses, like real live horses, on Genghis Khan's postal route through the entire of Mongolia. It's amazing. So I'm excited for you to meet Tom. And then you get to meet Amanda of As the Magpie Flies and BlindThistle. So basically, if you've seen any moto illustration in the motorcycle world, you've seen Amanda's stuff. It's amazing. So she talks about how that fire for her got started and how that's passed on to others. Let's go. So I'm here with Tom from the Adventurists. Welcome to the podcast, Tom.
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. And what's your official title? I know you had was it Idiot in Chief? I think is what you have on your website.
Yeah, I think something like that. Chief Idiot.
Yeah.
I don't know. Professional Idiot. I don't know.
If you so for anyone listening and watching, if you had to describe to somebody, like if you walked up to somebody in the street and said, like, what the heck is the Adventurists? How would you describe it to them?
Large scale, stupid and dangerous things to do that might kill you a bit.
Nice. That's really good. That's really good. Yeah. So if you go on over to the website, if you just Google the Adventurists, you'll see exactly what he's talking about, and you can watch it and look at it as we talk here. In this episode, we're talking about Firestarters, and specifically, Tom, when I saw your website and what you guys are doing as we have to, you're the perfect, you embody everything about Firestarters in the adventure space. Talk a little bit about how you got into doing your first rally, because back in the early 2000s, I believe, in Mongolia. Is that right?
Yeah. I first tried to drive to Mongolia in a really rubbish Fiat 126, which for those non-Europeans is about the size of an American shoe. It's like a 499cc. It's much smaller than a Mini. It's kind of an 80s car, so it's boxy. So Fiat took everything that was beautiful about the Fiat 500 and ruined it, and then made it slightly less competent, and they came up with the Fiat 126. They are basically my favourite car. I absolutely love them. I've had about 8 of them in my, broken about 8 of them. Where are we going? Oh yeah, I was living in the Czech Republic with a friend of mine as part of a student exchange back at university, and we bought one of these and we got ripped off because it was actually 2 cars that turned out to be badly welded together. It was a shambles of a vehicle, and we then just picked the most stupid place we could think of driving to, knowing nothing about Mongolia or anything in between the Czech Republic and Mongolia, and we thought that would do the job. And then we set off we made sure we didn't take any luggage, and we didn't make any plans, and we didn't make any preparation. So I think we had a packet of 50p cigars, and that was our provisions, and quite a lot of hope, and we failed miserably. We only got to the kind of border of Iran, and they turned us away, I think, because we were quite smelly by that point. And then I had a lot of fun, obviously, and then I'd organised events, sort of fundraising events before, and I thought, let's launch this. Everybody needs to try this. You've got to drive a really shit car as far as you possibly can to Mongolia. And I foolishly assumed that the whole world would come. So I announced the website, and I thought, blimey, there's going to be millions of people that want to do this. And there were, I think, 6 cars the first time we did it. I was like, whoa, where's everyone else? And anyway, we did it, and then it got to, then I think we did it again the following year. I think I being a business genius, I charged everyone £0 to take part the first year, and obviously lost hideous amounts of money. And then it was like 50, and then the following year after that, we actually physically we sold out in like 3 seconds, 200 places, and we physically set our server on fire in the building in London where it was being where the website was being housed, and the kind of the word was out, and then it's kind of gone on from there.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, what do you think the appeal is for, I mean, in the modern day? What's your perception that the appeal is for people that they would set your server on fire?
I don't know. There's a lot of really stupid people out there. No, I think people. I think adventure, or as I see it, and I don't mean like traveling around and visiting places. I mean getting lost and stuck and in trouble to some degree is something that we kind of very efficiently work out of modern life. So you've got a mobile phone that knows where you are all the time, and health and safety regulations that guide how you use a ladder in the UK, which is just ridiculous, and a coffee cup that tells you that it's hot. Well, I feel like I would hope it was hot, and I feel like I expect that. And I think being able to escape that and be in a place where every decision you make actually makes a difference. If you go one way, you might lose an arm. If you go the other way, you'll be fine. And I think that's a very enriching experience. And I think that's massively missing from modern day life. It's all about convenience and productivity and boring stuff.
Yeah, like deliberately choosing the thing that's not convenient or not easy because
yeah.
you know that it's gonna be more memorable, number one, but also more rewarding because there's something to fight for. And yeah,
absolutely. I think we've spent quite a few million years running away from lions, and we don't do that anymore. But I'm pretty sure we need to. And I haven't got any lions. I'm not allowed, so I have to drive stupid places in totally inappropriate vehicles.
Yeah. I always felt like the motorcycle is kind of like it harkens back to the old days of like, I don't know, like the Knights or something like that, where you kind of like pick a direction and go on a mission, or a quest, amazing. kind of a little has that. I think it's one of the few things left, that kind of has that feeling, at least for me. It's like where you just throw a leg over, your trusty steed and like pick a direction and go, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I think road trips in general have that, as long as, and I think it's an approach, because worse now with things like Instagram, where people go on these things for a picture as opposed to for the experience itself. Or if you go on a road trip and you decide you're going to see this, and this, then really all you're going to be is disappointed, because your imagination of whatever tourist site was, the Taj Mahal, or doesn't really matter, is going to be better than the reality. Whereas, frankly, stumbling across a funny toilet that you didn't know was there because you had no plans and you got stuck is going to be far more engaging than visiting the Taj Mahal, in my opinion. Indian tourism's not going to be my friend anymore, but
Yeah. So talk a little bit, because like when people, hopefully they're looking at your site by now, because what we're talking about is going to make a lot more sense once they do look at your website. You have basically, by land or by sea. I mean, you had the boat. You did I think the boats and even two wheel. You guys aren't just relegated to just two wheels, like you said. You guys started with a car. I think you have horses now in Mongolia, and there. Talk a little bit about like how you guys have, started with one thing and just kind of like spread out into these different modes of transportation, whether they be gasoline or living
Equine.
creatures, living animals for transportation.
I think it's partly because the primary motivation for us is that idea of getting stuck and lost and in kind of wading in diving kind of headlong into the unknown straight away. And so if it's never really been about, like, vehicles are the vehicle for doing that. It's not really about the vehicle itself particularly. So we started with the Mongol Rally, and then 3 years later we launched the rickshaw run in India, and never again. And we did that, I guess, because basically everyone we spoke to told us it was a terrible idea and everyone would die, and it would never work. It was completely impossible. And all of that made us think it was exactly the best thing we could possibly do. I think so much so, there was such an argument that whether we could do it or not, that half of the people that signed up stormed off and left, because there was some meeting, I couldn't be there, and half of them all got really angry about the fact it was stupid and left. Oh, fine, we'll crack on anyway. You can not come. And then, so the rickshaw run happened, which are tuk-tuks, which are like three-wheeled. I guess they're a modification from a Vespa scooter with a kind of seat at the back, which are prevalent in India as the form of transport, but no one goes long distance. So even in India, everyone thought it was a terrible idea. And we did the whole length of India from south to north in a couple of weeks, and that was brilliant fun. And then I think after that, we launched the horse race in Mongolia. So we, just by chance, I think I was sitting in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Mongolia with a friend of mine chatting about Mongolian history, and we'd thought about horse races. Obviously in Mongolia, horses are a really central part of their traditional culture, and then she told me about Genghis Khan's ancient postal system, which is a bit like the Pony Express in the US, but a little bit longer lasting, and it predates it. So his was spanning most, from all the way from Mongolia to what is present-day Poland. It used to spread, so we rebuild that. We rebuild Genghis Khan's ancient postal system across the Mongolian steppe, and that's become a bit of a monster. So we have 40 riders that come from all over the world, and for them, each horse only rides 40 kilometers. And then they change onto a new horse. So for 40 riders, we have to vet and train 1,500 horses. And we have a team of about 500 people all building this postal system across the steppe. And again, there it's like they're semi-wild horses, a bit like your Mustangs but smaller. Uh-huh. That's probably our most dangerous race by far. But that's gone from strength to strength. We've actually launched another one in Patagonia, and we're going to do one in the US soon. Then what else do we do? Then we've done the boats in Africa. We did vintage Ural motorbikes across Lake Baikal in Siberia in midwinter. They're the do you know Urals? They're those kind of the Russian copy of the BMW Second World War bike.
Yeah.
They're flipping cool and totally unreliable. Because we do. lovely boxer engine underneath that is impossible to get the timing right on the carburetors. It's really cool. And then what else did we do? We did these things called ungalawas, which are a dugout mango tree and a blanket that you sailed across the Indian Ocean. And again, it's these kind of taking something local is quite nice because you get a different reaction from people that you're traveling. The cultures that you travel through respond very differently. When you're in India, you look ridiculous and you're clearly doing something stupid with something that they fully, that they use on a day-to-day basis. It's quite a nice way of interacting with people, and the same in horses in Mongolia and Urals in Russia. And then so I suppose breaking away from that, paramotors, we did a flying race down the west coast of the US on paramotors. which are just amazing things. Just completely ridiculous that anyone can fly around the country without any license whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Is a paramotor, right?
That's
that,
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty wild because it's not. You don't. Yeah. You're absolutely right. You don't need any kind of if for those of you who don't know what paramotoring is, go to YouTube and type in Tucker Gott is one of the big guys in the space on YouTube. But basically what it is, it's a specially designed, it looks like a parachute, but it's not. It's a wing, and you have a motor strapped to your back, and basically that's your and then you know that's your I don't know, what do you call it, your energy for moving forward. And but I've seen people go up to like 15,000 feet with one of those things, and you still have to, like, you can't like fly like, I mean, still there is some regulation, like you can't fly in clouds, and different stuff like that. But
you can't fly over cities or towns or built up places, all sensible stuff. But they're really lovely in that you can kind of you can reach places that you couldn't normally get to, and you can fill up in a regular gas station. So, we did about 1,000 miles down the west coast. It was just awesome. And just camping out sometimes under a tree. Just never really knew where you're going to end up each day, which I think is part of it. And the weather blew people out of the sky. It was chaos in a good way.
Wow. Do you find like the challenges are different, putting on an adventure rally in, say, I would assume from, America to Russia or to Mongolia? I assume are the challenges, is it the government? Is it logistics? Is it people not, like, people in like America not being able to chill out and let go, or like what would you say are some of the biggest challenges?
I think it's different. Every different adventure has its own total nightmares, I think.
Yeah.
And they're all quite different. Sometimes it's political, depends on what we're doing. So with the rally, it could be political because we've got to get the cars in and out of various different countries. Lots of customs and permissions that have to go on in the background. With the Mongol Derby, it's logistical because you have nearly 2,000 moving parts that you're trying to keep in one place, or at least more or less, all over the sort of 10-day period. Yeah, so it's hard to say. There's not really anything that joins them up. Each one is its own shit show.
Yeah. Yeah. So looking towards this year, I know you guys have, looking at like your two-wheeled adventures. You have the Monkey Run, I think, coming up in Mongolia this year. Is that right?
That is right. Yeah, I'm quite excited about that. Mongolia is basically the ultimate location for land-based adventures. It's huge, no fences. The landscape changes dramatically. It's an amazing place to do this. And there's not really roads anywhere. I mean, there are roads, but most of the country is just joined by dirt tracks, and that's just flipping awesome. And then obviously monkey bikes are the perfect machine to do any adventure on.
Yeah.
They're about my favourite.
Yeah. We'll talk about some of the experiences you've had on monkey bikes. I think, one of the things we talk a lot about on the podcast is I think there's the perception with, quote, adventure riding, that you have to have a large, at least 1,000cc, crazy bike with, aluminum panniers and all this, kind of crazy stuff, and look like you're riding a house or something. But really, you can have an adventure like you said on monkey bike. So what were some of the experiences you've had on monkey bikes?
Yeah, I think you have a better adventure on a monkey bike than you do on anything too well. Like the big bikes, it's a bit like over planning your adventure. It's a different sort of fun. Like some people take enjoyment out of planning and organization and doing exactly what they thought they were going to do, which is great. And for some people, that's a brilliant form of relaxation or holiday. But I don't think it's an adventure. For me, I think the tininess and the ridiculousness of monkey bikes makes them perfect. And they're actually, if you can't get up whatever it is, you just drag it up, tie a rope and pull it up. You can always find a way to get there. It might not be elegant, but it would be a lot more fun. So we first tried it in Morocco across the Atlas, and yeah, they're just awesome. We did it on 50cc engines because they're the least capable. And then as we're getting up to the top of the Atlas, there was 4,000 meters. They're struggling to get us up there. We're basically pushing them up the hills, and they stop working when you hit a river or you get up to your waist very quickly. They're brilliant. They create adventure as opposed to having to go looking for it.
Yeah. Do you end up taking the bikes with you, or do you get them wherever you're, like in the destination, just buy them locally, or how does that usually end up happening?
We always import them ourselves. So we do it in Peru through the Amazon rainforest over there, and we set up a company in the country to register them too. We import them, sort all the taxes out, and bring it all in. Like that, so it's quite a slow process, and the same in Morocco and Romania as well. So we have a variety of companies that own a variety of really shit vehicles, and then we reuse them. We find good mechanics to rebuild, and where they can be rebuilt, and basically roll again until they're totally buggered.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. What kind of, like, what you said 50 cc's, what kind of brands are you guys using on the monkey bikes? I'm curious.
We just use Chinese copies at the moment. Mm-hmm. So we have most of ours are a brand called Sky Team, which are but that's part of their charm.
Yeah. Are there any like moments that stand out to you, like since you've started this whole thing? I mean, because it's been going now almost 2 decades, right? Because it was the early 2000s when you got.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm always saying I've been doing it for about 10 years, but I'm now nearly a decade out of date.
Yeah.
Flipping heck.
Yeah. It's like when you have kids and you're like my kid's like 2 years old, and like they're actually like 5, because you always have one that's like the your little baby that you always have. Yeah. Well, so looking back on the 10 years plus another decade that you've had with this, what, I don't know, looking back on it, like what's been maybe like 2 highlights for you that stand out in your mind as like moments where you just kind of stand back and go like, wow, I can't believe this is real, and this is a thing,
I think probably the 2 were the first time we finished the rickshaw run, because I genuinely had no idea how many people would survive. And then everyone got to the finish line, and I think having had the experience, we didn't really try it out. We just assumed it would be good, but discovering that it was actually just awesome fun, that was a pretty big highlight. And then the first, again, when it was concluded, the first horse race we did, when that had finished, and we're like, because that was quite a different type of project. A huge amount of logistics from vets and doctors and satellite tracking and everything that was going on. And when that finished and it was a success, I think I drank far too much vodka and fell over. Did the same in Darjeeling in India. In fact, there's a picture of me falling over in a toilet, I think, somewhere. That's my way of celebrating.
Nice. That's cool. So if people want to like do one of these adventures, is the easiest way to go just on your website and just check out what you guys have available, or?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, jump on the mailing list because we release some of the new stuff by email. Yeah, just theadventurists.com will tell you
Okay.
what's going on. And yeah, obviously not a lot this week.
Yeah.
But hopefully by the summer we'll be back up and rolling
Yeah.
once these
Yeah.
vaccines do their thing.
Yeah. How's the past year been for you, with COVID, because that's one of the things that inevitably comes up, on um each of these episodes. And for those listening, we're recording this in early January. And but what's the past, I guess it would be more like 8 months probably, looked like,
Yeah,
for you guys.
different.
Yeah.
So we had quite a lot of events that we've postponed, essentially, and we've kind of rolled a lot of people forward to the following year. Um, but yeah, it's given us time to work on projects that we haven't been wanting to do for years, and which has been great in other respects. So yeah, it's not without challenges, but it's actually, I think, been pretty constructive in the end.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of wonder if people won't place more value on, kind of these experiences, because like what you're offering is an experience, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you're kind of like saying, we will provide you the framework for this, whatever it's going to be for you. We can't say 100%. It's not like not like a cruise ship or something where you go and, like, have all this stuff that's planned out for you and have your quote, adventures.
yeah.
But it's more like you kind of provide a framework, and then, it's up to the person. So I hope people will probably value experiences over stuff, and hopefully
Yeah,
seek
hopefully.
out more things like what you guys are doing.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I mean, we don't, we, I think because of the way, like, people are quite into it, so most people just were like, okay, no worries, we'll do it when as soon as we can. Whereas people who were like booking on a cruise ship or whatever it might be were like, oh, I'll cancel it and I'll think about it again later. Whereas these guys are quite committed, which has been great for the last 8 months, and then we'll get rolling again. And
Hmm.
yeah, I guess being trapped up makes you a little bit introspective about what you value, doesn't it? When you're locked in your house with nothing to do.
Yeah. 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 So one other question, I think, looking at, like, so I have a family. I know you have a family too. Has that changed your perspective on adventure, or do you have that? I mean, I know for me personally, like, I want to share from, riding motorcycles, right? I want to share that
Yeah.
with my kids. Is that something that is, I don't know, is that like an urge, or do you hope that they'll discover it kind of on their own terms, or I don't know, like.
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, I think, um, and I guess it changed my perception of risk a little bit, but not necessarily of adventure. Like, I still think it's
Mm,
that sense of, I guess the word is chaos, that I think is important to find yourself in. And I always encourage our kids to go out and, they're a bit young to go and get lost because they would actually literally never come back. They'd just be street kids somewhere else. And I'd probably get arrested. So, but as much as is possible, yeah, I'm trying to encourage them to get out and seek adventure. I think it's important.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's that tendency to, at least I feel that, to like overprotect, when really they need to just experience, and
Yeah,
kind of let them, bump their knee, and which I guess
it's a
translates
hard.
to our adult lives too, a little bit, because I know there's times when, like when if I haven't ridden, thrown the leg over the bike in a while, you kind of have that sense of dread or fear of like, oh, there's so many things that could go wrong. But then once you're out there riding, it's like there's an accepted level of risk, um, but it makes you like, I don't know, more balanced, as a
Yeah.
person once you go through that. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's
Yeah. No, I think you're right. It's really hard to not overprotect them, and but that's like there's quite a lot of value in doing it. It's just you don't want your children too covered in blood.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and telling us a little bit about the Adventurists and kind of what you guys are doing to stoke the fires of adventure, and it sounds like it's really catching on and growing year upon year. And yeah, how many adventures do you guys have going this year? I think you had mentioned, or
In a normal year, it's probably about 20,
okay,
but obviously not this year.
yeah,
We're starting it again, but yeah, about 20. We have sort of five or six main adventures, and then some of them happen more than once a year, but not very often. So yeah.
nice, yeah. What do you see, like, down the road? Do you kind of have a goal for where it's going, or like do you have kind of like, I like kind of like how many, like, would you love to see this expand to 100 a year, or are you happy kind of with what it's looking like?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, to the point, I don't want it to be, if it became too big, then it could lose sort of the purpose of it. I think what I'd like, we're looking at doing a few different things. From we're going into producing something that we hope people can buy, and it will create adventures every day in their life. And we'll be releasing that within a month or so, which I'm quite excited about. And then we're looking at whether we can do really short form stuff and how short we can make it. Like, because I guess I've always tended towards longer form, meandering, getting lost adventures, but I've been kind of trying out like how messy can it get in like 12 hours, and what can you do with a weekend to make these things more accessible, I guess, because not everyone can take like 5 weeks to go and get stuck in Mongolia. Or even a week or so maybe. So we're just trying to see, because I do genuinely feel like these experiences have value, to me at least. I don't know, and maybe to other people. But so if we can get that, I don't know how short. I don't think it could be much shorter than a day. But the trouble is being at, you don't want to say you can do it in a day, but it might take you a week to get out of the mess you've got into. So we're trying to work that out and trying to find a balance between like, how much of a slap in the face can you give someone over a weekend, before it's a total disaster. A balancing act, I guess. Yeah. So a few more short form things and an object of adventure.
Yeah,
I'm quite excited about.
Yeah. Are you kind of, do you see your experiences more as something like people train for, or just something that they just sign up and just dive in and go for it?
I like the latter, ideally. So like the horse race people obviously have to be decent horse. There's in all of our other races, the only concern really is the people taking part, who have obviously made a choice. Whereas with the horse race, we have to look after, our primary concern is looking after the animals, and the humans we don't really care about. If they break their back, it was a choice to do that. Whereas and the other stuff, we try and make it as accessible as possible, because you just like, I don't know, you just want to be able to decide to do it and go. Yeah. With this little, so with things like the monkey bikes, we give we give people training. Maybe they've. In some countries, you can just drive. Well, in the UK, you can just jump on a 50cc and drive it without having any training. Or particularly, you can have a driving license, but don't need any motorbike training. So we try and make it as accessible as possible.
Yeah. Nice. Well, cool. Well, thank you, Tom, for being on the podcast. And if people are, anybody listening or watching is interested in any of these adventures, getting lost on a boat or a horse or a monkey
bikes,
or a rickshaw or a paraglider, go check out Tom's website. It's the Adventurists.com, and it's, and the videos are good too. That was another thing I was going to mention. You guys do really nice job with your videos and kind of summarizing that up, which kind of feeds the adventure bug for me. So yeah.
It's kind of easy when the backdrops are so good.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Well,
thanks again,
thanks
Tom.
for inviting me on. Thanks, Nathan. Thank you.
So if you want to see more from Tom, just go to theadventurists.com. I'll put the link in the show notes. But just looking on there now, it's pretty cool. You can see the rickshaw run, which was, as you mentioned, the first one in there. He calls it Zen and the Art of Ignorance. There, don't plan, don't take a cell phone. Specifically, the monkey bikes, the monkey bike adventures. I'm looking. They have ones in Morocco, USA, Peru, Mongolia, Romania. The Mongolian ones actually sold out 2 years in advance, so those, I don't think those are available anymore, but some of the other ones are. So yeah, go take a look. It looks like a blast. So we can be inspired in a lot of ways, right? I mean, through watching video, hearing somebody's story around a campfire, or seeing an illustration or a photograph. And in this case, Amanda is a gifted illustrator. She's, like I said earlier in the podcast, if you've seen any kind of illustration in the motorcycle space, you've seen Amanda's work, because she does amazing stuff. And I have to say, like, some of her illustrations for rallies and stuff, like, it gets me stoked. There's one for the P&W Dual Sport, and the way I've done a lot of riding around the Pacific Northwest, and the way she captured that in her illustration, just like so succinctly, it captures so many of those feelings that I have, and like gets me excited to go out and ride. So you're going to get to meet Amanda, and she talks a little bit about how she got started in art and what some of the reasons were behind that. So I'm excited for you to meet Amanda.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Amanda Zito. You may recognize me from my YouTube channel as The Magpie Flies, where I make motorcycle travel videos. But I am also an illustrator. I have a bachelor's degree in fine arts from the Pacific Northwest College of Art. I graduated in 2014. Halfway through art school is when I decided to learn to ride motorcycles, more to replace horses than anything else, and also to have a cheaper way to get from Portland to Montana and back. I am a born and raised Montanan. My family live in Montana. I am forever homesick, so I go back and forth quite a lot. And it's almost half the price in gas to take a motorcycle rather than a car. So for the first 2 years that I was riding motorcycles, I was doing it totally by myself. I didn't know anybody else who rode besides my grandpa. And I didn't even know there was like a whole community around motorcycles until I found themotolady.com. And that's when I really decided to become a part of the motorcycle community, become a part of something that was pretty jarring to me when I decided to join the motorcycle community is the lack of representation of female riders that weren't naked or in bikinis or in short shorts and being overtly sexualized objects. And representation matters to me. So I just started drawing what I wanted to see in the industry, women in full gear, riding their own motorcycle and owning it. And I didn't expect it to be a thing. Like nobody knew who I was when I started doing that, but it's pretty crazy the amount of people in the motorcycling community that I have had the opportunity to work with and meet in person and all of these things purely because I decided to start drawing women on motorcycles and full gear. I've worked my way into kind of a niche of motorcycle event posters, but that's been super fun. I've made work for Babes Ride Out, P&W Dual Sport, the Backroad Ball, a bunch of other smaller motorcycling events. And of course, I still make personal work with stuff that just resonates with me. And everybody's responded really well to it. It's been really awesome to see my work out in the world and so many people embracing it and putting it up on their walls has been really awesome. If you would like to see more of my motorcycle work, you can go look at BlindThistleIllustration.com or you can hit me up on Instagram at BlindThistle. Thanks, guys.
In a dark space, but I'm climbing. Right. I feel alive.
So that wraps up this episode, and spoiler alert, this podcast. This is my last podcast with ADVMoto Podcast. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen and take time out of your lives to either watch or listen to the podcast. That means a lot. It's been a lot of fun having the guests on here, and I also want to say thank you to the ADVMoto team, the people behind the scenes that are helping make this podcast happen. A lot of people and voices that you never see or hear. So yeah, it wouldn't be possible without them. So thank you for that. And just a quick plug for ADVMoto. If you want to see the magazine, they have an online subscription. Just go to advmoto.com, and a lot of really cool stuff coming up from Dakar, from Justin and Kira's time there, and they talk about that. So yeah, it's been fun. Thanks again. If you ever see me on the road, say hi. If you want to drop an email, just Google my name or whatever and say hello. It'd be great to chat life or bikes or whatever. It'd be great. So yeah, so long. Thanks for all the fish, and see you down the road.
Keep coming alive. Keep coming alive.